Shit. Silly me. Of course it's a Friday. Um, yes, it looks open. Let me put this down now.
Right. And that's sacrosanct. You may break my legs in Marrakesh if... Anyway, we're being live streamed, so I'm going to change my hat.
I noticed. I like your sky piece.
Well, I'll have this one for now. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, an assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. And it is Tuesday. Therefore, it is our young international tellers. Unfortunately, because of the exam system in various countries, we have very few, in fact, no young international tellers with us today. Our regular Jasname is has a biology exam in the morning. Hold on, I'm just going to get a little light on the side of my face. That's it. I've just reclaimed a stack of books of mine I lost 2 years ago. So I've just rushed in from, it was in someone's lockup. Anyway, Jasname's not with us today, so I thought I'd actually talk a little bit about what's coming up at the festival. We have, from those that haven't noticed it, we have from the 12th to the 19th of February next year, physically, that is in reality, and people shaking hands and all that kind of stuff. Our International Storytelling Festival, Marrakesh International Storytelling Festival, there'll be about 80 tellers there. Last year, or this year, we managed to pull it off by the skin of our teeth. Baba C was there, he had a wonderful time. And but this year we have a much broader select, because people can get there. Last year the borders only opened 5 days before people couldn't get to us, and then the borders were still closed to some countries like Tanzania. So the Tanzanian tellers couldn't get to us. We have a teller from Tanzania this year, assuming people can get to us, and 2 people from Kenya, Sierra Leone. So we're doing, we're going way down south with a smile on our mouth. and of course we'll have all our Moroccan tellers, and then we've got tellers from Greece, from Estonia, from Romania, the Americas, both USA and Canada. I don't know who's coming from south of that yet, but undoubtedly maybe someone will jump on board. And still more to come. And well, of course, we have the Irish contingent, including a Japanese teller who is with us in Masako, who's a fantastic teller who is with us in a few weeks' time. So it's going to be one enormous storytelling party. So if you should feel like coming to Marrakesh for probably the finest storytelling event in the globe next year, not that we're bigging ourselves up at all, just come, book your, and there's a list of riads on our website. If you go to the festival tab on our website, there's a list of riads that are supporting us and providing rooms for tellers. So we'd love anyone sort of coming to actually pay them money actually, and make it worthwhile them giving us beatniks room for free, so be there. It is going to be one fantastic. It was great last year. It's going to be, this year rather. It was great this year. It's going to be even better next year, bigger, better. tellers can get there. The boards will be open. Tappy Thomas is coming with his Ancestral Voices show with musicians. We're going to have Yusfu, Solar, Baba C, and Baden with Return the Griots, which I think will be. There's just two of the fantastic shows we've got coming on, and there will be more. In fact, there'll
John,
be a week of. Yes.
may I kick in something? Between now and the festival, I would like to encourage people to see the hat that pops up for the various activities, and if at all possible, to kindly donate, because each donation, no matter how big or small, helps. It helps the artist, it helps the storyteller, it helps the festival.
And that is particularly important this Friday, because Despina is on, and her hat is going to the Hands Up project in order to fund some children coming to Belfast, I think she said. So we'll get that on. And in fact, I will use this opportunity to say who is coming up on Fridays, because on Friday, of course, we have our stories for children. We've got, let's see who's coming up this Friday. It's Despina from Greece. And then on the 16th, following Friday, will be Misako Kari. She lives in Northern Ireland, but she's Japanese and Japanese stories. On the 23rd, we've got Usha from India. And then on the 30th, we have Geraldine from Kenya. She will be accompanied by David Heathfield, but it's going to be Geraldine's program. On October the 7th, we have Maria Gillan doing forest stories, and I think she's bringing other tellers into that. And October the 14th, we have someone who we've vaguely come across before. Is leaving the White House and coming to see us, coming down into the real people of Washington D.C. And then joining us. So we have Baba C.
Yeah, the White House in Washington and the rest of Washington, D.C. are entirely different cities.
I realize this. This is why I.
Right. But if you really want to have a good time and see DC, the real DC, if you're in Washington, DC or nearby, drop me a line and I'll see what I can do. I might even be able to take you on a personal tour.
That'd be good. So you've got loads of places to go. You've got Marrakesh, but should you be in Washington DC, you can pop in and see Baba C.
Baba C in DC.
Baba C in DC. And Baba C will be at Marrakesh, obviously. So let's see, how am I rattling on? I'm hoping, Baba C.
Yes, sir.
As you're under 25 years old.
You know, I admitted somebody, but they left us. I guess maybe their internet dropped.
What did you admit?
They're gone now. I can't tell you. But I'm presuming when anyone pops out, it's because of internet challenges.
Yeah, I was just wondering who it was.
I don't recall, but I saw someone waiting to get in. I admitted them, they came in, and then they just disappeared.
Oh. So.
Perhaps they'll be back.
Well, Baba C.
Yes, sir.
In order to kill time and to entertain me, have you got a quick story suitable for children from the top of your head?
Yes. And since it's on the top of my head, it might slide down. Hold on just a moment. All right. So off the top of my head, actually, I have a piece still in working. So let me share that. It's called Befuddled, and it's something I'm still working on. And this story is too new to be long ago, but it's too old to be too new. I lost myself on that one, but it's called Befuddled. And it says, let me tell you a story that's never been told, except for the last time it was. A story so old it can only be new, filled with lies and perhaps a fact or two. The story takes place in a near-away land where mountains were molehills and valleys stood tall and deserts were wet. The oceans were so dry that rivers and streams wept, while babbling brooks had nothing to say, speaking not a word, not even till this day. The story I'm about to tell is true, or so they say, except for the lies told along the way. It has no beginning, no middle, and no end. And with that, let the story begin. The end. And if you're wondering what type of story this was, caught between fantasy and fiction, it was sheer nonsense.
Well, I think you should have finished it on the end, but I think you are in a fine the tradition of Edward Lear and the great nonsense poets of the past. I really like that. In fact, I'll ask you to do that again at some point, because it just appeals to my sense of the ridiculous.
Oh, do we want to appeal to between your sense of the ridiculous and mine? Ooh.
Oh, well, I'm going to waste some time. No, fill some time.
Thank you.
Fill some time. You fill time. No, let's not go there. Anyway, I thought I'd do a poem about scrounging things off your parents. And when I'm doing it live with children, they shout out, "Hey, mum," and "Hey, dad," but I'm just going to do it. "Hey, mum, it's a brand new day. Hey, mum, can I go out and play? Hey, mum, have you seen my ball, my skip rope, my pleasure machines? I'll be with you in a minute, or I'll find it when I'm done. Who are you going to play with? And make sure you're back by 1. Your dinner will be ready, or we're going out for tea. That's the last clean shirt you're wearing, so make sure you keep it clean, or it's, hey, dad, can I have 50p? Hey, dad, you promised me. Hey, dad, would you take me down to get some new training shoes? There's smashing ones in town, and I've only got £1 coin. I'll do it when there's time. I'll talk it over with your mum, and if she says it's fine, we'll go and get them next weekend. It's only 1 more week where I think that you've already got enough shoes for your feet. Then it's, hey, mum, it's not fair. Hey, mum, it's cruel. Hey, mum, they're all wearing new training shoes at school. And hey, dad, I told mum. Hey, dad, you said. Hey, dad, you know you've lost, so stop moaning, will you, and go and get the car. There's a whole series of those about that conflict, that different perceptions between the world of children and the world of adults, both as valid as each other, but not always in sync. So, right.
There's a poem that I like. I've shared it once before, if I may. And this particular version is by Tyler Rager, R-A-G-E-R. But I've heard so many different variations of it, but I like it because of the sheer nonsense of it. And it's called Two Dead Boys. Ladies and gentlemen, skinny and stout, I'll tell you a tale I know nothing about. The admission is free, so pay at the door. Now pull up a chair and sit on the floor. On one bright day in the middle of the night, 2 dead boys got up to fight. Back to back, they faced each other, drew their swords and shot each other. The blind man came to see fair play. The mute man came to shout hooray. The deaf policeman heard the noise and came to stop those 2 dead boys. He lived on the corner in the middle of the block, and a 2-story house on a vacant lot. A man with no legs came walking by and kicked the lawman in the thigh. He crashed through a wall without making a sound into a dry creek bed and suddenly drowned. A long black hearse came to cart him away, but he ran for his life and is still gone today. I watched from the corner of the table, the only eyewitnesses to facts on my fable. If you doubt my lies are true, just ask the blind man. He saw it too.
That is the best version of that I've ever heard. Thank you.
Yeah, there are a lot of different versions of it, but this allegedly is by, it's supposed to be the original version, but I'm never sure.
Yeah, well, there's all sorts of things like that, but and people think they wrote it because they
Yes,
spoke memory of it,
yes.
and or people just claim things of their own.
Don't they?
Jelly Roll Morton, for
Oh.
instance, the Jelly Roll Morton who claims to invented jazz. No, there was an enormous amount of jazz around the time, but
Yes.
Jelly Roll Morton laid claim and made a very good living from that claim. But oh, hold on, Mike.
I got it.
Got it. There's one.
Yeah.
Right. We're right.
But you know, I can understand the confusion back then because this is before instant communication. I think telephones were, not everyone owned a phone. Not everyone owned a radio. And so a lot of people were insular. They only had their immediate circles and they drew upon what was in their immediate circles. So even though someone may have been doing something that people have been doing way before, and a lot of times they had no knowledge of it.
But Jelly Roll would have done because he traveled around competitions for piano professors. There's a story, he tells it, where he's off, and he was also a great pool player. So he was going to, and he claims this is how he wrote the song Alabama Bound. But it's a great story anyway. He's off to a professor's, a competition of piano professors, and he heard this one was going to be there, and he thought he could take him, but he wasn't sure, and he couldn't afford to go and not win because they were money prizes, like poetry slams, and there's people make their living running around poetry slams now. So but there was a pool competition in the town he was in, and he cleaned up there because he was a really good pool player. And then he found that the guy, this professor, the piano professor that he was afraid of losing to, didn't turn up anyway, and he would have won. But and I think all that was to take place in Alabama, so it was Alabama Bound. And he claims that's the origin. He wrote the song of Alabama Bound, but he's such a good storyteller that we'll allow him everything. And anyone who could scrape a living, that would, you have to have great respect for. But I'm sure Mr. Oliver would dispute the claim. Mike, hello.
Hi, hello.
Right, we're just killing time. Jasname can't get here today because she's got exams. We're sort of killing. We're filling. I keep saying killing. We're filling time till 30:30, so I can just make sure our Nigerian family princesses cannot. I'd hate to finish it before they got here. Sometimes they come about 30:30. So, Mike, have you a suitable story for a children's evening?
Probably.
Handy.
Yeah, so one that's not got killing in it or anything, yeah?
Oh, odd bit of decapitation doesn't.
Okay, I have then. It's the Peach Boy. Is that all right? That's all right, isn't it?
Please go. Please go for it.
Okay. Once upon a time in old Japan, I suppose I should have said Mukashi, there was an old couple and they didn't have a child and they really longed for a child and they went to the temple and prayed that they could have a child. And the lady did not get pregnant. He was a woodcutter and she was a washerwoman, used to wash the clothes in the river. And one day when she was at the river washing the clothes, a giant peach came tumbling along the river. And she pulled it out, put it on the bank, and then took it home, thinking, I'll show my husband, it's amazing, and we'll have it for supper. And so her husband came home from doing the wood chopping, and he was amazed at the peach. And they got the sharp knife out, they're about to cut into the peach, and suddenly, poof, it sprang open, and out jumped a little boy. And that's why he was called a peach boy, because he came to them in a peach. He was sent by the gods as an answer to their prayers. Now, over the years, they raised Peach Boy, and they had once been quite well off. They were now reduced to doing the chopping the wood and doing the washing, because all their treasures had been stolen by the Oni, the demons, the ogres. They'd raided the village where they lived and they'd stolen everyone's treasures. And one day, Momotaro, the peach boy, said, Mother, Father, I will go and get back your treasures. That's why I'm here. I think that's why the gods sent me to you. And they said, no, it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. He said, no, I will do it. He said, Mother, will you make me Dragon Balls, the famous dragon bun, which gives you the strength of 10 men when you eat it. She made him a great big bag full of dragon buns. And Father, will you give me a stout stave that I can use as a weapon? And his father, who was the woodcutter, cut him a lovely, strong, thick stick, which he used as a weapon. Actually, look, while I'm not eating, I can put my picture on. Oh, mind you, it's not a great picture. So he had his weapon, he had his dragon buns, and he set off to get to the village of the Oni to reclaim the treasure. And as he walked along, he was singing a little song about being on a quest. And suddenly, someone jumped out of the trees, and it was a dog. And the dog sang to him, and the dog sang, Momotaro-san, can you give me tasty dragon bun? And he said, yes, dog, I can give you some if you'll join my quest that's just begun. And the dog agreed to go on the quest and help to get the treasure back. And they walked on. Suddenly there was a I think you can probably guess what that was, can't you, John? And if not, I'll put you out of your misery. It was a monkey. It was a monkey, and the monkey swung down from the trees and he sang, Momotaro-san, won't you give me a tasty dragon bun? And Momotaro said, the peach boy said, yes, of course. And gave him a bun and said, monkey, I will give you bun if you join the quest we have begun. And the monkey agreed to go on the quest to fight the Oni with him. And it carried on, and suddenly there was a loud squawk. And out of a very tall, lonely pine tree came a pheasant. And the pheasant sang, this won't come as a shock, the pheasant sang, Momotaro-san, won't you give me a tasty dragon bun? And Momotaro said, yes, of course. And he sang to the pheasant, I will give you a tasty dragon bun if you join the quest we have begun. And the pheasant went along with them. And getting to the Oni involved getting across the bay, because they lived on an island in the Oni castle, which was kind of a village in a castle. And they got to the island by borrowing a boat, and they marched up, and it was a long way, and they were getting quite tired. And the pheasant saw the gates and said, I'll fly over and see what's happening. And he flew over, and he came back and said, the Oni are all drunk. They're having a big party and they're falling about and they're drunk. They're not making any sense. This would be a great time to attack them. And so Momotaro walked up to the gate and he pushed. And he pushed. He couldn't move it. And then the monkey pushed and the dog pushed. They all pushed together and they couldn't move it. And then suddenly Momotaro thought, and they said, quick, we must all have dragon buns. And they all ate their dragon bun. And they threw the gates open and stormed through into the Oni castle. And Momotaro had his stave, and the dog had his teeth and his claws, and the monkey had teeth and claws, and the pheasant had his beak. And they beat up the Oni, and the Oni all wound up cowering down and afraid and say, "What do you want? What do you want?" And Momotaro said, "I want the treasures you stole from my parents' village." And the chief Oni said, "Take it, take it." And so they piled up a cart that the Oni had with all the treasures, and the Oni pulled them back to the boat and loaded the boat. And Momotaro and his three companions sailed back across the bay. And when they landed on the other side, they all helped him pull the cart back to his parents' village, and they redistributed all the treasure. And from that day on, all three of his companions lived with him, and they all lived happily for a very long time, till he was older than any of us.
Oh, that was a long time.
It was a long time. Back to Medina.
Hello, Norman. You will notice that we are lacking in young tellers at the moment. Jasname is having exams, and we're telling stories to each other until such times, for about one more story, I think. Now, I think that tonight is sort of is under 25s and over 60s. So anyone in between, anyone of working age can just go out to work, leave us each end of the spectrum to get on with it. So Norman,
Yes.
you have a short story.
Not off the top of my head, but
I just happened
I do have one.
thought you might.
Yeah, no, you heard this one, but the others might not have. There was once a king, and he had 3 sons, and he wanted to pass the kingdom on to the most capable of his sons. They're all good lads. There's no bad ones in this story, but so he decided to give them a test. The test being is who shall build the biggest house. And Baba C will be glad to know I found a reference to this story in a book, in a stack right next to me. I'll pass it on to you. So the king says, what I wish you to do is build a house, the biggest house and the best house that you can. And he gave to each one a coffer of gold. And he said, with this gold, go to work. And the one who builds the best and the biggest house is the one who shall manage the kingdom after me, and the other 2 shall be chief ministers. Like I said, they're all capable. So the first 2 sons immediately made all the local contractors very happy. Loads of timber, loads of brick, loads of everything were shipped to and open, and soon edifices were rising. As for the 3rd son, he disappeared. Word came out that he had bought supplies of wine, and he had bought himself a fine kora, and so it's an African story. And then while the 2 brothers were building their fine houses and going up 1 story, 2 stories, 3 stories, with as many windows and doors as possible, the 3rd son sent reports came back that he was going from town to town to town, and in the center square he would set up shop with the drink and with his kora, and he would tell stories. And that's all he did. Stories, people crowded all around, very much like the Marrakesh square. And so, as he went traveling around, the houses went up, and when the houses were finished, and grand and edifices they were indeed, the 3rd son, having visited every town and every city in the kingdom and told stories and to large crowds of people, and then households everywhere as well, they all came back together and made the report to the father king. So the first two showed the houses. The king said, "You have done very well." He asked the third son, "What should you do? Where is your house?" He says, "My house is the entire kingdom. I have told stories everywhere, and that is my home." And the king said, "You've done well, because now I know that there is not a single door in the kingdom that will be shut to you. And therefore you have the largest and the best house, because you know your subjects, and your subjects certainly know you for your generosity." And so this son became the king in time, and the other two, they knew how to build and they knew how to arrange things, and so they became capable ministers as well. And so they lived happily, and may we do so. And having heard this story, maybe that'll help us live a good life as well. Take care.
Story. I've been blagging my way around the world with stories forever.
Yeah, you got a lot of open doors, John.
It's
Right.
better to have open doors than doors shut in one's face.
Yeah.
Open
Mhm.
doors is all. Oh, by the way, Norman, I like that story because I think there's a version of that story in almost every culture, because I tell two versions of, I wrote in the chats, kings and three sons always make a good story. So I tell a version of that story
Mhm.
about a king who has to decide which of his three sons will ascend to the throne after he ascends to ancestry. I think I cut you off, John. I'm begging your pardons.
That's okay. I was fascinated. Um, we have crossed the half-hour mark. I don't think anyone else is going to join us. Thank you for my young over 60s. Bless you for keeping it going and making it possible for people to join us. Hopefully the Tuesday, we'll keep going with the Tuesday evenings on the basis that when exams and such are over, people will rejoin us. Until then, well, what's coming up? Well, Friday, we've got Despina telling stories from Greece, stories for children. So, and that's 6 o'clock. Sunday, 7 o'clock, we've got Worldwide Story Round. We're back with our Worldwide Story Round. We just missed one over the holiday period. And then on Tuesday, we are back with our young tellers. Hopefully young tellers are also, because I'd love to put our over 60s out to pasture, but but for the moment we're all necessary, I'm afraid. So
Well, but today we were telling stories from when we were young.
well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in
So
fact,
we were young at heart.
is it?
How about young at art?
Oh, right. There's a
That
time
was
now.
artfully told.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Before this descends into Pun City, I will say good night to everyone. Thank you. It's probably Waleed, Waleed or Ali or Kamal driving the magic carpet tonight. But thank you, and thank you three for keeping it going just in case anyone came, and telling some fine stories in the process. So marvelous. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Until the next time, to be continued.
Prochain. Take care.
You're mute, Mike. C out.